Welcome to the People's Guild.
Each week we explore the Splinterland universe with guests from all across the mythical land of Praetoria.
Join us on our journey as we discuss the evolution of the game, the strategy, the lore, and the exciting path that lies ahead.
To support the People's Guild, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, and also check us out on PeakD, YouTube, and Twitter.
Send your questions, suggestions, and epic battles in our comments through Twitter or email at thepeoplesguildspl@gmail.com. We'll feature the best in our episodes and maybe airdrop you some prizes.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode. We are firmly underway with season 4 here. I got Jimmy back as my co-host once again. What's up, Jimmy?
Jimmy, how you doing, Jimmy?
Jimmy. And we welcome back, man, I've lost count how many times we've had you on. But first in this new capacity.
One more than a Zircon.
One more than a Zircon? Yeah, put that in your pipe and
but
smoke
who's
it
counting?
easy.
But who's counting?
But it certainly marks the first as his under his new title, COO. So before we get going, I very proud to welcome our good buddy Dave back. I want to wish a very well-deserved congratulations to you, Dave, and I think the team absolutely fucking nailed it with their decision to bring you on board. So Dave, welcome back. Very, very warm congratulations to you, and it's wonderful to have you again, man.
Well, thank you, Jangles and Jimmy. Happy I'm here. I didn't know we could say the F word on this because when I owned a radio station, we weren't allowed to say that, but I guess we can now.
Internet radio, baby.
Yeah,
That's right. It's a new era.
So yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm thrilled that Matt had the confidence to, we talked about it and make that decision. They made the decision, and I was happy to help. And honestly, I'm thrilled at the opportunity we have ahead. So we got 2 hours to talk about it. Let's go.
Let's dig in.
And you look great. You shaved your mustache. It's a new look for you. I like it.
I did.
Yeah.
I want to look pretty for the radio. So
Achieved.
But, yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. I think the team couldn't have made a better choice with someone who's been just here from day one. Were you here day one? You were here pre-sale. You were buying Alpha Pack, right? Yeah. So here, day one, probably I would say the most transparent community member that we've had, and one of the most active that we've ever seen, and one of the most probably effective and fair mediators in the whole space, in the whole community as well. Really has a knack to see both sides of things, to let people, guide people to finding common ground in situations where they don't. And always has something positive to say, man. You always point out the good things when a lot of people at times were, pointing out the bad, something I'm definitely guilty of too.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. That's really nice. Honestly,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. There's been a lot of people that said nice things on the post and in Discord, and it's a great community, and I really, am appreciative that people have given me respect. And, from my standpoint, that's why I'm doing this job, because I believe that the community is awesome. I believe the team has, I think it's an unbelievably good team, but I think they also have a lot of heart, and the project has a lot of potential. And if we can make a few adjustments, execute a little better, I think the opportunity ahead for everybody is huge. And I look at everybody from the whales to the smallest minnows, and, I just want to see them succeed. So a lot of those times when you say, I give answers, I mean, I look at everybody as people, and I want to see people do well, especially people that have done their best to try to make things work. So, as far as I'm concerned, I think we're in a good spot. So I didn't have anything funny to say, Jangles. So you gotta jab me or something.
No jabs thus far, Dave. I just want to echo what Jimmy said. I mean, you when I came in, obviously a couple of years after you guys, you were one of the first names that I routinely started noticing as the guy who had earned the respect for, reaching mutually agreeable compromise across a whole slew of different issues and controversial topics and difficult to deal with topics. And you've only continued to emerge as one of the, if not the number one leader from the community perspective. So get it, in my mind, it was a no-brainer getting you on board as COO. Ushers in a new era. I think we're going to start to see the fruits of that labor, and hopefully we got 2 hours or so to dive into what kind of plans you got up your sleeves and how you're feeling and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think you can feel that there's a little bit of electricity kind of working its way through the community at the moment on the heels of your announcement as this position. It's very well deserved, and yeah, I think we're all sitting with bated breath, waiting for what's to come, man. It feels like all the stars are starting to align, and you're kind of the, not to put you on your high horse, Dave. We'll do our best to knock you off that high horse as we progress through this episode. But your hiring kind of signals the crowning jewel of putting the pieces in place before we start, pushing this train out of the station, man. So, yeah, again, super stoked to have you on board, and always appreciate you making time to come hang out with the Jangles and Jimmy show, man.
Well, thank you. Very nice as well. I mean, I agree. I don't know what to say. I mean, I agree you're going to grill me, so I'm prepared. So, you know.
That's
By
right.
the
We
way,
got a list of
I will
questions
say,
here.
you guys said I was here from the beginning, and you weren't. But one little story for the people that weren't around when we first started. We bought packs of cards. They were alpha cards, and when we bought them, they had no stats. So we literally were buying cards of a game, right? That had zero stats, and there was no game, right? So that's how far back I go. So yeah, we mean I've seen the launch of stats. Like at the time when I first started, I didn't know what a summoner was. I didn't know what sneak was. I didn't know what a snipe was. All the things that Magic the Gathering people and all that would know. And a lot of people in the Team Possible Guild, which Jimmy is a part of. Jangles he's an outcast, but the a lot of us. Yeah, I mean, I remember having conversations with Jillian Pierce and CC Saja, and there was a bunch of them, and we're still around. I mean, a lot of them are still around, and we didn't know anything. We didn't know what a sneak was, what a snipe was, but it was cool. It was interesting. It was a Web3 game that we could earn from playing, and even though we didn't even have anything at the time, we all along had trust that they were going to deliver. And now that you look back, 7 years have gone by from that day. I mean, it's an incredible amount of achievements. And I know sometimes when we're in a down move, like kind of, I mean, obviously we had $1 and now we're below a penny. So everybody's like, oh, Splinterlands, is failed, right? I mean, I think some people have come to that conclusion. And I look at the other way around. I mean, we built some amazing things. We've gone from nothing, literally nothing, right? Just pictures, to, I mean, just think of all the modes we have, all the cards we have, all the things like liquidity pools and validators and third party services. I mean, there's been a lot of things that have been done really, really well. And the fact that our token hasn't done well recently is not because of those things. Like those things have all been really, really good. We just have failed to execute. And I've been one of the people as well when it comes, that have pointed this out. We've failed to execute when it comes to bringing in new players, right? So if we don't bring in new players, of course, no business can operate. You guys are both in business, and I'm sure that if you closed your doors to new customers, you wouldn't reopen them. The money just doesn't fly in. I mean, you have to you have to be willing and able to go out and engage, bring in new people. Splinterlands is focused on a lot of things, but that's the one thing that they have not figured out yet. So I'm excited because I know exactly what we need to do. I mean, I'm not saying I have the exact answer to like this program will give me this many new people, but I know that there's one objective, and that is bringing in new people, period. So whatever we do to make it happen, we're going to try. And if it fails, we'll try something else. And if it fails, we'll try something else. And at the end of the day, as long as I'm the chief operating officer, that's the mantra. You know, we're going to bring in new players and we're going to figure it out. And when that happens, you know, I've had a lot of meetings over the last 5 days. So, you know, sometimes I'm repeating myself, but fortunately, you know, to you guys, I haven't had any of the meetings. But we get into a situation where a lot of people have a lot of faith and a lot of hope and and they see the potential in this business, you know, like in this game, right? They see that it could be, right? We pay thousands of dollars for promo cards. We buy sets. We pay a lot of money for packs, all because we see, you know, the potential, right? And we trust that it's, you know, we trust that it's going to happen. What they're missing at this point, you know, meaning of the cycle, is literally just one thing, and that's confidence. And when people are confident that it's going to happen, you watch the difference in the way in which our token goes, right? Because like right now, it's like, oh, I think they're going to do well. I like this, I like that, but I'm not putting the last of my life savings in because you're not quite sure that they're going to do it, you know, this time, you know, this minute, right? So you hang in there, you keep, you know, dollar cost averaging, you know, chipping away, just keeping the head down, continuing to stay with it, all with again, the hope and the expectations, and you can see the good things. And those are indicators, you know, because my business, I'm coming from the financial services space, from the brokerage firms, from Wall Street. And these are things that, like, that's what an analyst would analyze, like stuff like this, right? Like, despite the fact we haven't had any new players for greater than a year, maybe as far as 2 years, I mean, we're still selling, you know, $3 million worth of stuff. We're still selling promo cards for $1,000, you know, in some cases, you know, $15,000. So, you know, there's something here, and a lot of people don't even understand that is a big indicator, because we haven't had any success, or we haven't executed at the low end, meaning we haven't really focused on getting the new people in. And I'm saying flip that around and wait till people see 5,000 people a month coming in, you know, and our attrition rate, you know, goes from 97%, you know, to a 30% retention rate. You know, people will notice the difference. And I have a hunch that you'll see a lot of old people, meaning ex-players, as soon as they hear, oh my God, you guys got 5,000 people coming through the door every single month, not just 1 month, but that, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 months coming through, at some point, I mean, you know, that kind of, we all know what's going to happen if you bring in that kind of people. So it's not like, you know, if somebody said, hey, what would Splinterlands be if we had 100 million customers, right? Or, you know, yeah, say 100 million, just pick a number, right? Of course, if we had 100 million, I think pretty much everybody would think that we're going to be at a penny, right? So you could say it'd be at a dime, it'd be at 50 cents, it'd be $1, it'd be $10. You know, pick your number. It's going to be higher than this, right? The way the market works is they're not going to wait till you hit 99 million to say, you know what, I think they're going to hit 100 million, right? Like, by the time they hit 99 million, you know, you pretty much know they're going to hit 100 million. So the point is, people will have already made their decision well in advance. So that's why I'm saying confidence is the last piece, like understanding that we have to get this done, that we have to figure out how to get new players. Once that happens, now all of a sudden confidence comes back. When confidence comes back, like I said, the whole infrastructure is right. We all know Splinterlands is worth more than what it's trading. We all know the strength of the community, the strength of the game, the depth of the game, the opportunities to add more modes, do things slightly differently. You know, we have great cards. We have opportunities to grow the collector side of the business. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do. And, you know, it's just a matter of like, are we going to do it? And I think right now the answer would be for most people, like, I think we will, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to be a little careful. At some point, that's going to shift to, oh my God, they're going to do it. And when that happens, that's when it gets pretty exciting. I'm going to say pretty damn exciting. You know, since we can use the F word, I should be able to use the D word.
Yeah. Man, that's all music to my ears, man. All of that. That is all music to my ears because that is what we've been missing this whole time is that focus on the bottom and opening that door and welcoming in new players. And no, you know, deciding what's necessary and figuring out why we haven't been doing that for this whole time. And you know,
I honestly, Jimmy, I think that sometimes they don't like. I'm used to running like $100 million companies, right? And when you have that, you have like departments and tons of people and data, and you know, you didn't get there without having success, right? So as you're doing it, you know, like, well, we have to have a 30% retention rate. I don't think Splinterlands even at the time, you know, we started with a game with no picture. I mean, with pictures, no stats, and no game, right? So they've gone from that to what we are now. It's a learning process, right? So I guarantee you, Matt is better, and Aggie, they're better managers and, you know, business owners today than they would have been 7 years ago. But I mean, is that the same as somebody who's run, you know, multiple $100 million type companies? No, you know, because they haven't ever had the experience that. So I don't think that they really understood, you know, the how to do it in such a way. Like they understood we didn't have the new players, but at the same token, everything's a trade-off. Like sometimes you got, you know, somebody saying, I don't like soulbound cards. Should we have soulbound cards? And then somebody else saying, you know, pick your leagues and, you know, and, you know, like all these little competing things all distract from what you're trying to do. And then at the same token, you're trying to make sure you try to keep people happy. And then it's never fun trying to like like if you're a game, most people like they progress. Like if you're used to playing as champion in Splinterlands, you're probably not going to be that happy being a bronze player from that point on. It's the same thing when people develop things, right? They're looking at it from the eyes of an already developed mind, right? Like we need more abilities, we need cooler things, and that's great for the existing base, and they've done a great job. We have a premium game. I mean, I don't think anybody even steps back and realizes like we are the premium game in the space. Like, you know, we don't go around telling people that, but that's the case. You know, you put money in because you believe, right? Like we're going to succeed. And at the end of the day, that's powerful. You know, that's like any brand. You know, it hasn't been it hasn't been refined. It hasn't been, you know, messaged properly. But having said that, yeah, I mean, you know, like I said, you throw 100,000 people in at the low end, you're going to pull out another Vuctus. You're going to pull out another Brave. You're going to pull out Matt Clark. You know, you're going to get, you know, 3 AZs, right? And do you have the "we're done here" yet, Jangles? Do you have that like
the
recorded?
sound clip.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, in other words, the point is you get, you know, 100,000 people in our at the low end, you're gonna get those, you know, other people. That's just how things work. And, you know, they didn't really understand how to get that, how to make that happen. I'm very clear on how to make that happen. You know, it's the entry level, it's the free to play level, it's taking advantage of what game, right? I mean, X day, in fact, generally play daily. We have a unbelievable set of IP that, you know, has collectibles in the space that, you know, sustain the value. You know, like look at, I mean, it's not like we still don't have $1,000 cards. I mean, we got plenty of $1,000 cards. We have land, you know, we have a lot of that kind of stuff. On top of that, you know, it's a lot of fun, but it's not fun at the bottom end. And again, like I said, you kind of get a bias when you know, when you kind of grow up in the system, you kind of forgot, you know, when you were first starting. But, you know, I go back and I remember people like Jillian Pierce and myself and CC and Crypt Keeper and, you know, a lot of the people that we started back then. And, you know, a lot of them are still around today. And we were only, you know, we started and we didn't know anything. We just heard like, hey, there's this game and you can earn some cryptocurrency that we didn't even know what it was at the time. And, you know, in that experience, we learned the game, we learned how to play, we learned how fun it could be. I wouldn't say magical, but it was something that we thought was like really cool, you know. So for non-gamers, right? You guys may have said, you know, like a Magic the Gathering or something like that may have said, it was pretty simple when it first started, but for us, that was like really cool, you know, like playing a sneak and you know, using snipes and the healers were favorites because for us, you know, healing seemed like the route to go, you know, back in the day. So my point is that the creation of fun has got to come back. And I think that's one of there's certain triggers that can make us happen, make all this happen fast is probably the fastest, right? Like a guy comes in, he starts it free and you know, he game and
I can't think of a better way to say it aside from it feeling so refreshing having this focused energy, you know, coming from a position that, you know, I know that you're going to be able to make an immediate impact. And I can imagine as you were kind of progressing through conversations internally with the team and in particular with Matt around, you know, what is this new position going to look like? What is that relationship dynamic going to look like between now Matt as still acting CEO, working in the product side of things? You know, what is that dynamic going to look like moving forward? And for you to come in and say what you just shared, that you know that dog will hunt, right? Like we have really good bones on the skeleton for, you know, it is a premium game and it's a badass game. We're all here because we believe in the potential here, and for you to, you know, completely echo that and, you know, be in the position now to take us to that next tier of, you know, growth and progress and focusing on bringing in those new players that they love the game. They love the collector's aspect. They love, you know, you can, there's a million different boxes that we can tick in terms of what is the demographic that we're going after here, and trusting that that process is ultimately going to get us the right distribution of players. Because I completely agree that, you know, if we bring in another 20,000 players, even let's lowball that 100 million players that you called, chances are we're going to end up with another Tofu. We're going to end up with another Vuctus. We're going to end up with, you know, a handful of guys like Jimmy and myself. And um, that process is ultimately going to get us there. So I have to imagine you coming in and really embracing everything. You know, obviously you've stuck around through thick and thin. We've been through multiple ups, multiple downs. It's been an extended down, but the foundation is there and the foundation is strong. And so for you to come in and really echo that, a lot of that stuff that has given you that initial conviction still exists. It just needs a little bit of polish. It just needs a little bit of some new shine and, you know, maybe a fresh spin on how we're pushing it out to new customers. Man, I feel like that's got to be, it's refreshing to me as, you know, an outside observer. I have to imagine that that message that you just shared, uh, you know, it's really got to resonate with the guys internally. And Matt's just got to be pumped. So I don't know
that's
where you want to go
another
from there,
million.
Dave, but yeah, I'll hand the baton back to you, man.
he bought 7 million SPS, so I think he's pretty excited. So
Well, that's
yeah,
writing on the wall, dude.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
So
Well, that's just so he could outvote you.
yeah, that's true.
I'm kidding. I'm
I
kidding.
think
Of
he
course.
passed me. I'm not sure, but we're close. You know,
Ooh.
and the you know, let me think how to put this. Matt loves Splinterlands. Matt loves the community. Matt loves the game. He loves. I mean, he built something incredible. He never wanted to be the guy that was this, the guy running the company. He was always content being the guy that made the game, right? Like made things connect, made the like he said it many times. He built the game that he wanted to play. Like that's how he views it. And of course, we can see that's why it's so damn good in the premium version. I'm going to keep using that term because that's what we currently play is the premium version. Having said that, he didn't want to mess with, you know, fights in the community, fights with employees, things that are natural for any business. Anybody that's run a business will tell you it's not like everybody comes in and they hug each other and never, always smiling and never have any problems. Like running a business is worse than running a family because at the end of the day, it's people that aren't a family. Like they fight for positions. They do things to each other to get fake arguments and it's just, I mean, it's just common sense that any business is like that. And Matt doesn't want to deal with any of that, right? He doesn't want to deal with contracts. He doesn't want to deal with, the headaches that go with, strategically, like, do we have enough, like, what's our plan for the next 12 months? And, how are we going to get there? Like, I mean, like I said, he's never really been involved in all that. And he took it out of love. He took over because he was concerned and worried that they were in trouble, right? Like we hit a point where we were spending, we meaning the company was spending more money than they should have been spending. They were taking chances that they shouldn't have taken in retrospect, right? Of course, if it hit, everybody would have like never known, right? But at the same token, when you take a big swing and you miss, then where you left, right? And we were at a point where Matt was truly worried. He did have enough money in the bank. They were not like on the verge of bankruptcy, but if you remember when we were talking about the runway and stuff like that, there was like a 6-month runway that they ran all the way up to, and then something had to be done. And you can't run a business that way. I mean, you can, but it's not going to be very successful because again, it comes down to confidence, right? Like you need your customers to feel confident. You need your employees to feel confident. You need your prospective customers to feel confident. And so when you say things like, uh, you know, hopefully we make it through the next 6 months, that's like not a good thing to say. So, he had the, you know, I hate to use the word trim the fat because I actually think Splinterlands has done a great job of hiring quality people, just people. Like maybe they didn't hire the exact right roles in some cases, but most people that were working for them, cared to see that it succeeded. It was like passion. But at the same token, they had too many of them to cover the amount of revenues that they had. So he had to take hard decisions. I think that took a toll on him. Matt's also a very, very empathetic, sensitive, nicest person you've ever met. And I don't think he liked doing any of that stuff. And I'm a lot like him in that, you know, he's nicer than me and more empathetic than me. But having said that, I understand it because I'm a lot like that. Like if somebody's hurt, I try to help, right? It's just the way that I am. It's the way I look at things. I try to put myself in other people's shoes. But having said that, when you do something, if you have over 1,000 employees, you learn that it's not about being nice or not. Like I'm a nice person, but if my job is to make sure the company succeeds, then that means I got 1,000 people that count on me, right? And if one person is doing something that they shouldn't be doing, I can't like say, well, I like him, so it's okay, I'll let him do it. No, I come at it from we all have to succeed. In order for us to succeed, we all have to go, we have to pull our weight. And if people aren't, then I have to say something about it. And I don't mind doing that. And that's why I'm saying I'm not as nice. I mean, I want to see all the employees, number one, I mean, they're just unbelievable. I mean, you think of guys like Gator and Royal and, just, I mean, they're just tremendous people, so I don't want to let's say, Jimmy came to work for us, right? And he starts like goofing off in the background like he's prone to do. I would not want to see,
Shots fired.
even though I
Oh.
like Jimmy as a person, I wouldn't want to see him jeopardize Royal's future, Royal's, career, all the passion that Harry's put into it. I wouldn't want to like jeopardize that by letting Jimmy just goof off all the time. So I would have to have a conversation with Jimmy and say, look, we gotta either, get you to start working again, or, we have to figure something out. So having said that, Matt doesn't like doing any of that. And then when it comes to contracts and, like Matt wants to be friends, with people. He wants it to be like his life. He wants it to be, like part of his life, like part of his family. Like he wants to see it do well. And I think he doesn't like some of the hard choices. And I think I can help. And that's kind of how the whole conversation started. Like, Matt, I mean, this kind of stuff doesn't bother me. Like I'm very comfortable, making sure that things are done, not because I'm mean, but because I realize that if we're going to succeed, like think of all those people. I mean, I think of people in the community that, like, I hear stories all the time that just, they break my heart to sometimes. If we were to not succeed, they took the money out of their 401k and they put it in Splinterlands, and now they're worried. And, like there's a lot of those kind of stories. And I know we're in the crypto space, and it's, the kind of the hard mentality is like, well, they did it, that's their fault. That's just not me. Like, I'm like, they're here, they're still here, they're trying, they want to see it succeed, they believe it can succeed. So I feel like we owe it to them, or me personally owes it to them to do as much as I can to make that succeed. So that's why I'm not, that's why I think I'll be beneficial, because, I really like it's never personal. It's always like, we got to get stuff done. Like, we need to get new players. So, like everything that comes up, I mean, obviously we're going to execute on, the Conclave Arcana, and we just got validators out, and we got a land update coming. So all that stuff is all good, right? And all those things are, obviously in the pipeline, and they're going to keep going. But I'm telling you, if we don't have tens of thousands of players coming through on a regular basis, we're not done, right? That's just how it is, right? It's just matter of fact. Like, somebody could say, hey, let's do this, let's do that. Like, I know a lot of people in Jangles, you said, before the show, like some people were going to ask about, the league resets, or, like, whether we want to go back to that or not back to that. And really almost every decision, almost everything that we have could be solved if we had new players. If we had new players coming in, and obviously when I say, well, we have new players, well, we don't want dumb new players. We want players that actually understand this is awesome, right? So in order for that to happen, we have to make sure it's awesome. And if we have the tools, we have the capability, and if we make it awesome, now all of a sudden we have these people coming in, they're staying, they're investing, they're buying the cards, they're interacting with friends, they're hanging out with people they like, they're investing in an up and, like a cutting edge Web3 game. I mean, I don't even think anybody's better than us. In fact, I think we're the best. because we do have all these other tools, we've just been missing one little piece. You fix that piece, now all of a sudden those people that, like I was talking about, that they're here, they have faith, I want to see those people like rewarded for that. So I know I tend to ramble. Jangles, you can go ahead and smack me.
I'm gonna cut you off again, Dave.
Yeah, I know.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
It's just amazing how many people, the fact that through literally we're on what 3 years of a downturn, right? We had that peak, which was right before Chaos Legion was launched, and then Chaos Legion was launched like literally within days of a huge crypto crash. And the fact that we've had 3 years of downturn at this point, and we still have so many people here. Throughout that downturn, we've been building. There's been a lot of great shit going on. The team has been doing amazing work behind the scenes, and we still have this strong community that's here. All these people that have stuck around. Yeah, we've lost a lot, but we also have a lot that are still here and still believe in the project. And that just bodes really well. You find that fit that one missing piece of the puzzle, new players. I think you might have heard me say that once or twice. Go back to the past couple episodes. I think we throw that exact terminology in there. That's the one missing piece. Throw that in, and we're literally just poised to explode. Polish things up on the way too. Just constantly be tweaking, constantly be making things better, which they've been doing, and we're just ready to freaking to moon. Honestly,
yeah, I agree. And by the way, getting new players is one thing that I'm drawing a distinction on with them, and also with the audience and with you guys in the community and anybody who pays attention. New player experience is nice. It's kind of catchy, right? But it kind of implies like we're going to do something and then it's going to work, right? Like we did the new player experience, so we're done, right? So yeah, you do the new player experience, good, right? Like that's fantastic. Did we bring in 10,000 people this month? If the answer is yes, then yeah, maybe we're where we need to be. I don't know. I would probably go for 20 or 30. But having said that, I'd be really happy with 10,000 players, right? If we have 10,000 come through the door this month, I'd be thrilled. Having said that, it's not probably going to work that way. That's just not normally how things happen. We did make lots of changes. We improved the new player experience massively. Some of the, the foundation set that we're going to have, some of the, I think we mentioned the foils. I don't think I'm breaking any news, but there is going to be some special stuff that is new for this set. That's going to be huge. The gameplay is going to have some mechanics that, is going to be fun. I mean, there's going to be people that are going to want to come back just because of the gameplay dynamic. So all that stuff is good. All that stuff is improving the player experience, right? So it's a new player experience. So that part is good. But it's like, does it yield what we need it to yield? And if the answer is not, like I said, tens of thousands of players on a regular basis, then we got more to do, right? So again, my objective isn't to make a new player experience. My objective is to bring new players into the game on a steady, predictable basis going forward. And therefore, all these things that we're doing that are improving the new player experience, we're going to just have to keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it until we finally, like, there's nobody left, right? Which obviously means my job's probably not going to be done before I die. But having said that, we will make a pretty good dent in it. Jangles, I didn't keep talking too long, so
I was perfect, Dave. It was.
We got the chess clock going. Yeah.
I mean, I love the general sentiment there, Dave, of, even if we start to see, and I know you pretty well. We've gotten to know each other over the last couple of years, and I know you're the kind of guy, like, even if we're nailing the recipe on, XYZ, you're not going to take your foot off the gas. Like I know that you're going to, try and dial up something else. And how do we amplify that growth that we've experienced the last couple of months? Can we tweak it a little bit and start to bring in a little bit of a different demographic that maybe we weren't so focused on previously. I know for a fact and with full conviction that it's going to be pedal to the metal until you're satisfied, and something tells me, I got a sneaky suspicion, Dave, that you're not easily satisfied. I think you have really high expectations for where this thing can go. I don't think you would have put your hat in the ring for this position had you believed anything other than the freaking sky's the limit, man. And yeah, I just love the whole philosophy, dude. I'm fully bought in.
And by the way, it's true, right? There's a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that is very applicable in this situation. We're struggling with new players because we didn't fully recognize what it would take to fix it, right? Like, they tried things, it just hasn't worked properly. Maybe the focus has been on other things because of other priorities. But having said that, at the end of the day, we're still extremely strong in terms of, like, you fix that one problem, and now all of a sudden we're the best company in the space. Not even close. Anybody even close? I mean, God's Unchained, all these guys. I mean, they got nothing on us if we solve that problem. So, yeah, the funny thing is when we do have the people coming in, yeah, I don't think our upside potential is 5,000 new players a month. I mean, I don't see any reason why we couldn't be 50,000 new players a month, 100,000 new players a month. I mean, obviously it's not going to be the first month that's going to happen, but when you build a model, that's what we're doing. It's like you input something and then something is outputted, right? So in the model, what's the new players coming in, like X amount come in, X amount stay, X amount, that number of people invest, a certain amount of money. That money goes into the ecosystem. It drives the value of our assets over and over. I mean, it boils down to a simple, like, sometimes like that would maybe somebody say, Dave, you overcomplicate it. And actually, in a way it is, because it really boils down to, is there more money coming in than going out? And, when things turn, number one, most of the money going out is dried up to like a trickle, right? If you look at the number of cards, how deep they are in the market, at one time there was plenty of cards to sell. Now, sometimes, you can't even get a fully max copy because there's not that many on the market, right? So it's kind of gets into a situation where you think that it looks bad, so you don't do anything. But then when things turn and you put just a little, like, some guy, like, let's say, Bugs is his brother, comes in and, decides he wants to try to buy $1 million worth of cards. I mean, good luck, that they're just not there. So, it changes really, really quick. And then there's the crypto bro types that are going to come in as soon as they see our token go from, 0.6 of a penny. I think we are 6.4, I think, right now. So mark that, by the way, so that, when what's his name? BC Dragon. When BC Dragon comes in and, throws up that we hit the wall, make sure you point out that we started at 6.3, 0.63 cents. But, having said that, once it flips, I mean, pretty much most of the people that want it out are out, right? So what are we doing? We're basically waiting for a reason to think that, it's like a Mexican standoff or something. We're sitting there and we're waiting for the other guy to pull the trigger. And until that happens, like, we're content. We're sitting here. Most people are restaking their assets or things like that, but they're not running out and doing a whole bunch of stuff. And all that changes when all of a sudden it's like, holy cow, look at all these new people coming in, right? Like, I better go buy some rebellion cards before they run out. Like you think they're going to be there forever, but as soon as they start getting going, then you go to get them and they're not there. And then you're like, damn, why didn't I move quicker? And same thing applies with all of our assets. Like, I've been looking at buying land plots for, all along. I mean, I have bought a lot of land plots, but really in the last 6 months, I've been following the floor. And, at one time, I think they got down to like 10 and a half dollars for the commons. I actually like the commons myself. And so, like I sit there and I'm like, do I want to buy them now? Well, no, I'm going to wait a little bit. And then they're 11, then they're 11 and a half, then they're 12, then they're 15. And I'm like, damn, that was like 50% higher. And even that isn't really driving demand because, again, you can see the activity, but that it's not from new players. It's from guys that are starting to see the value in land now, right? Like you're seeing like, oh, we're going to get stone and wood and ore, and then all of a sudden it's like, maybe I need a few more plots to, make stone and wood and or more grain. And then, that's like a little bitty frenzy coming, and that's just a small little microcosm of what will happen when we fix the main core thing, which is, like I said, tens of thousands in a short run. And yeah, you're right. You're right, Jangles. I believe that the potential for us to make new highs is very realistic. So we got to execute, but if we execute, I really don't. I think if we hit a dime, we hit a dollar. That's how I look at it. So whatever it takes to make us worth a dime will be exactly what makes us worth a dollar. Will take just a little more time to get there, but the exact same thing just keeps happening, right? You bring in new players, you go to a dime. Guess what? You're probably not going to stop bringing in new players because you figured out how to do it, and that's kind of what we're doing. That's at least that's what my focus is.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you've been consistent on this for years. I mean, we've had that I might as well say something. We have that Team Possible we have a voice chat. Our guild does a voice chat every Sunday. And sometimes it's in the early, for me, early afternoon, sometimes it's in the late evening. And it's been pretty consistent. There might be some weeks there's 3 or 4 people, some weeks there's 8 to 12, but we all get together and hang out and talk about Splinterlands. Sometimes during the past time it's been just a kind of a bitch session. Dave's always chiming in and making us see the bright side of things, but other times it's incredibly optimistic too. But Dave has been completely consistent, with the vision of what needs to happen, what we need to do. And I mean, we've come up with so many, you and everyone there has come up with just, sometimes it's just brainstorming sessions, and all these incredible ideas have come out about like, what are little ways we can tweak things? What do we need? How do we get new players? What kind of modes can we have? What new things can we do? And it's just awesome that like for all this time, your consistency is something that stuck out to me too. Like this is what you believe in. You haven't changed anything. You're like, this is what we got to do. This is how we got to do it. Bam, bottom line.
Well, thank you. And I'm too old to change. So, in other words,
Well,
honestly,
you did shave
like,
your mustache, so
I did.
that's
I want to make sure I look good for the radio, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. I'm not going to change because I understand that's what it takes, right? I mean, it's going to happen, and like we see a lot of the fights, like everybody in a binary situation, like, oh, we got to have leagues, and no, we don't need to have leagues, or soul bounds. We don't want soul bounds, and yes, we do want soul bounds, and like everybody's like so polarized because again, we didn't have the new players to, it's like we're trying to figure out what the problem is, and the problem is we had players leaving without new players coming in to replace them. So that's why we've slowly worked our way down. But again, if you ask any business, if you didn't bring any new players or any new customers for more than a year, I'm pretty sure most of them would go out of business. So we're not only not out of business, we've got assets in the bank. We're running at break even without all that, right? Can you imagine what would happen when all of a sudden we open our doors and all of a sudden these people start coming in and so yeah, I mean, I'm excited.
Dave, let's shift gears a little bit and talk some nuts and bolts, man. I shared with you a couple of questions that some folks, once they became aware that you were going to be appearing as the guest on on this week's episode. They reached out and shared some questions with me. Um, let's talk about, I think, and Jimmy justifiably called it out as a very worthwhile share. Let's just get the elephant in the room out there, and can we afford to pay somebody with Dave McCoy's resume and expertise and all of this stuff? Are we breaking the bank? Is Dave robbing us blind with his six-figure salary? Um, if you're cool with sharing, Dave, and I know you are, why don't we just get that out there and share with the community if we could?
The I I realized that there's no way they could afford to hire somebody in this role, whether it was me or anybody else, for what the role would pay. So money could not have been the issue for me because they couldn't afford it. They couldn't have afforded to pay what it would have paid. So I
So you're
essentially took
working
the
for
other.
a sandwich. You're working for a
Yeah,
sandwich.
yes, it's a good sandwich though. But yes, no, I essentially told them I would come in at the low end, like whatever the low end average salary was, of like an entry level person, as long as they were full time. you know, I'm willing to work for that, because even though it's like a 90% pay cut, from what I would normally do for any other company, like I would never work for another company for this, right? But the only reason is if you guys know me, the amount of time that I spend on Splinterlands anyway, it's kind of like a job anyway. So, the only difference is now I'm like inside, doing all the work as opposed to outside. But I mean, having said that, I mean, I'm passionate about the game. I want the community. I want to see it succeed. So I realized that there was no way they could possibly pay me, what was fair. So I just said, look, bring me in at the low end. I'm happy to do that. If I do a good job and, we light it up, right? We start getting, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of new players, and we're the top Web3 game out there, then I would expect them to pay me at least what a person in that role would be. But I have no illusions that, like they don't have to, right? Like my point was I'm fine coming in because I care more about making sure the job gets done than I do about how much I get paid. Keep in mind I'm 63. So, you know, I have money, I have savings, I've run businesses, I got a lot of money in the game myself. So it's just important to me that we succeed. And so the amount of money they're paying me really isn't that big of a deal, So no, I didn't. I forget what you said, Jangles. I forget how you said it, but
Robbing the company blind, Dave.
yeah. I mean, honestly, and I will say this: like, I know this is like my coming out. Like, you guys are, interviewing me, but I would say that there's a lot of people on the team that do very similar. Like, maybe not as much of a cut, but having said that, I know people have sacrificed. I know that these guys are working for less than what they're worth, right? Like the value they provide is immense, right? And just because like they haven't figured out how to market it doesn't mean that, like customer service with Royal Eagle's not great, or Harry, in the tech stack is like taking care of everything, or Gator, I guess you guys would say. um that Lilyfire, the devs, Cryptomancer, all these guys, they're all sacrificing, right? And they sacrifice because they believe, right? They believe that it's worth doing. They're creating something. It's like nobody pays an artist to create his art unless the good ones, at least. They do it because they're passionate about it. They care about the finished product. And I think that's what the whole Splinterlands team. Matt doesn't. I don't think Matt takes a salary. So, you know, he's in a good position, right, obviously, to be able to do that. But I mean, having said that, he would probably be like the way I would be, meaning, yeah, we're the number one crypto game in the world, and we're back over that $1 billion market cap, then maybe he would be worth getting paid again. But until then, let's just focus on getting the job done. And that's kind of how I am. Like, I'm here, I'm going to work, I'm going to make enough money to compensate me for considering what I just gave. In other words, I'm a consultant to other businesses. So I essentially turned them off and came in and said, I'm just going to spend full time here. So that's what's happening.
Beautiful. Yeah, Dave, I appreciate you sharing all that, and it's very clear that you're putting your money where your mouth is, and I think we've all kind of had a little bit of an inkling and insight into the number of sacrifices that the folks remaining on the team have made, and it just speaks to what you were talking about earlier, where the bones of this company and the bones of the product and the bones of the community, they are rock solid, man, and the folks that have stuck through it all, um, they are absolutely worth keeping around because that passion, you can't, it's not one of those things where you could just plug and play and you're going to feel that spark and that inspiration to bring the kind of passion that we see from the team, day in, day out at any old job. It's going to take it's lightning in a bottle. And I feel like, yeah, I just want to acknowledge and thank you for A, being transparent about that, and B, putting your money where your mouth is, and backing it up with, we're gonna take this thing to another level, and the payoff will come down the road. In the meantime, it's what I'm hearing you say is it's 100% worth the sacrifice, and you're taking it on your shoulders and running with it, man. So thank you for sharing. Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing my part like everybody else. It's honestly a very special thing. And, we're still early in the whole crypto world in general, right? Like, I mean, we're still new, like everything is so new. Crypto gaming, is a subset of the crypto space, and digital collecting is a subset of the whole collecting space. And I mean, we're just at I mean, if it was a 9 inning baseball game, we're not even in the first inning. We're still in the pregame warmups. We just had our pregame breakfast, right? We still have a lot to do, a lot of opportunity, and the beautiful thing is the guys that win are, the guys that come out, the ones that, if you think of how Magic the Gathering and you know Hearthstone and all those companies, I mean, they didn't just start there. They started like we would start. You start, you build, you get better, you get more customers, you continue to get better. Sometimes you make missteps, sometimes you know got set back, and so that delays where you could have been. But at the end of the day, you look around at all the competition, like, we're better than them, right? We're better than all these guys. So it's just a matter of, how do we get that word out? And a lot of that is not even getting the word out. It's just making sure the experience for those people is exactly what it should be, which is fun and, enjoyable and rewarding. And, the things that we all came here for is what really needs to be focused on. And, like I said, I think we have all the ingredients to make that happen. We just haven't done it yet. But, I mean, when our token's $1 billion, I can't wait to have, hopefully you time capsule this point. I mean, when it's $1 billion and everybody's like, wow, how did you know? I mean, it's really not that hard to figure out. Just look at all the pieces, look at all the depth of our organization. I mean, we got validators, we've got markets, we've got liquidity pools, we've got multiple modes, we've got beautiful cards, great IP, great lore, great, a lot of things are really, really, really good. And we just haven't quite figured out how to, manage the system, to bring in the new players. And once that's done, I think everything else is like, we'll be talking like the beautiful cards. Like, people are going to look at it and they're going to say, I'll give you an example. Like, one of my cards that I like, and I always bring it up, is Rusty Android. It was if it wasn't the first reward card, it was one of the first 3 reward cards. Like, it was like very, very weird card. It didn't really look that good. It didn't really play that well, and it was a rusty robot, right? So, like at the time, it like struck me as weird. Like, why would they make a card like that? Like it looked like it didn't look like it wouldn't fit in. But then it became my favorite card because nobody liked it, right? So, you know, stuff like that, when you now look back, you're like, you look at all the stuff that they did, and there's stories behind it, and and there's depth, and then that's the kind of thing that, like, gives it history. And then when you have that, now all of a sudden, you know that gives value to that, intellectual property that's been created over the years. All the If you go to Royal not the Gold Matters, if you go to his Twitter, he's constantly, like every couple of weeks, he'll put up clips of, like sort of like this day and this day 20 years ago, such and such happened. He's got little clips of all the little things that happened. And at the time, we thought those cards were like the most beautiful cards, the alpha cards. And then now we look at our cards and they're like 10,000% better. But having said that, the alpha ones that aren't as good as the new ones coming out, they have passion and emotion behind them, and the people that were there remember playing them. And that's kind of something that is hard to explain, but it's why collectibles even exist. People want to remember, they want to be a part of a system, and we have that. So
yeah
that's it.
I love the alpha cards, man. They're so reminiscent of like 70s D&D. Like, it really is. The borders and the characters themselves looks like it came straight out of those old, like, original Gary Gygax monster manuals, man. I love the alpha cards. They have that nostalgia.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I have what could have been a full set. If I leveled them, it would have been a full max set of alphas that I never leveled. And I've kept them for 7 years as level ones for 7 years.
No way. Do you have any higher level alphas at all, or they're all level ones?
I do have some that I played, but I'm saying I literally collected the level ones. Like, in other words, I went, back in the day, a nickel, a dime, in the case of alpha commons, they were a penny at one time.
Yeah.
And I would just, I would, buy $1 worth and buy 100 of them, and, I just wanted to get them, as just to hold them. And if I ever wanted to, smush them together and make the higher level and play with them, I could have. But the collector in me says, no, keep that. I'm a bit of a pack rat. I could say that about every set. In other words, I have a bunch of Chaos Legion cards too in the same boat. That they're level ones, and you may say, that's kind of nuts, but that's just how I am. I believe that 20 years from now, when I'm long gone, somebody's going to be really, really happy to have my collection. So
$100 common alpha singles.
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, and it could happen. I know,
Definitely.
I know people, land. I mean, just think of how awesome land is. Have you guys seen what they've been talking about putting Bitcoin on land? Have you seen that? Yeah.
No.
That's
so
so
brilliant,
brilliant, man.
real?
Say what?
So tell me, what's the deal?
Yeah, fill us in, Dave.
Level Up Life is, over on Twitter, and he's been working with several guys, and they've been trying to come up with a way to integrate Bitcoin into land. So basically, they put together some pretty professional, what would be the word, like ideas, where this would be a good way to do it. And essentially, to boil it down simple, it was much more complicated than this, but essentially what they wanted to do is take some of the fees that were burned, that like when we rent cards and all that, take some of those fees and essentially use it to buy Bitcoin. And so instead of burning it, we're buying a little bit of Bitcoin, just a little bit each time, and then letting that Bitcoin like add up and add up and add up, and then put it in land. so that it becomes something that can be earned on land at some point. So right now it's a community idea. I know they put a lot of thought into it. I've seen it. I haven't been able to put a lot of thought into exactly what my thought would be, like the exact way of doing it. But I do think it's very, very cool if we could earn, if we could, be digging up our plots, right? And sometimes we get the totems, and then imagine, hitting a fraction of a Bitcoin, like that would be really, really cool. So I like where they're going. I think from a marketing standpoint, it would be a big deal. I know Matt liked the idea. He
a
in
great
fact,
idea.
yeah, he replied directly to him saying he likes the idea, and he may have some thoughts on how best to do that. So I'm not saying, like, I don't know where it's at. Like, don't, I guess now that I'm on the company, I have to be careful to say, uh, what's the words they always say? Anything can be changed,
Subject
like,
to
yeah,
change.
everything's subject to change. There you go. So,
Mhm.
I'm not saying that that's even in the pipeline of what we're doing. I think it's interesting. I think it's terrific thing to think about. And I've had a lot of those kind of thoughts in my mind too. I think there's a way to leverage, just think of how strong our community is, and then just think how much more strong it's going to be. And then when that happens, I mean, I think there's going to be people that are going to want to be a part of our system, other gaming businesses, right? They're going to say,
Mhm.
well, everyone's got it figured out, right? So how can we get involved? And stuff like putting their tokens in our land is another idea that, people have talked about. So they want to
That's
partner with
brilliant
us.
marketing. Yeah, that's
Oh
Exactly.
yeah.
brilliant
So,
marketing.
that will, you put your tokens into our land and we dig them up. Guess what? I, as a player would probably go see, like, what the heck is this token, right? And then
How
of
do I
course,
get land? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's a ton of those kind of opportunities. I mean, a ton. So
You just kind of struck a chord there, Dave, that I want to dive into a little bit. I mean, we all know how cool of a community we've built here in Pretoria the last 7 years, and we've seen a lot of guys kind of pitch ideas, the community driven concepts and projects that have been picked up by the team, and in some instances some of those folks have kind of transitioned and moved over to be a part of the team to help kind of pull that vision into play. um the latest being yourself. You were community member first, and a community leader, and now that you've shifted into the team, um this kind of piggybacks off of what we were just talking about, and one of the questions that or a couple of the questions that I shared with you before we hit record. How do you kind of see yourself bridging that gap, or continuing to bridge that gap between player base and company? What does that bridge look like, and what's ultimately, how are we going to achieve clarity on what's feasible, as far, now that you've got the ability to impact internally the business decisions? People are still going to be coming to you as they always have the last 6 7 years, and dropping, hey, good ideas in your ear, and hey, I was working through this concept. And yeah, so I just kind of like to hear your thoughts, Dave, before we dive into some specifics. um what's your quick take on how are you going to continue to kind of build that bridge between community and company, now that you're operating internally?
the, I mean, I'm me, right? I'm still the same guy the day before I was in the company, and I'll be the same guy after, right? And the only difference is I may have some information that can't be shared. Having said that, everything else is, if I can share it, I'll answer questions the same way I always have. If I re I'm a little different than a lot of people. Like, I actually don't mind hearing ideas. I'm an idea my guy myself. I could probably give you, I don't know, 50 things that we could try, and obviously we can't do all 50 things. So having said that, like, I love ideas. I love discovery. excuse me, I love trying to figure out what, what's going to work, what's not going to work. Um, and then I also don't mind criticism. If people want to criticize, like we didn't do this right or we didn't do that right, like I'd like to know why, right? Like maybe there's a good reason because maybe we didn't do it right, right? So if we didn't do it right, then guess what? I want to do it right. So therefore, I'm happy to hear about it. And sometimes I realize people get frustrated when they're like, "Yeah, I told them," and they didn't do anything. Like, yes, not always can you like snap your fingers and make certain things happen. But having said that, are we going to go on the track that is at least the path towards doing it right? The answer is yes. I mean, I want to do things in a way that is fair, makes economic sense, that rewards multiple stakeholders. Like I know we always, not just here but in any business, there's always the rich versus the poor, the whales versus the minnows, however you want to you know couch it. I mean, people are people. Doesn't matter how much money they have. People are people. So the way I look at it is, I want to see people succeed, especially if it's something that it's like in this case, it's a project that it's like, you know, so cutting edge. Like we're going to be able to look back one day, like the people that are here, the people that have gone through it. I made this point. I forget who it was today. I mean, I had a lot of meetings, but we're going to be able to look back and we're going to say, man, you had to be tough, right, to still be here the day you got hired. Like at this phase, like, you've been pretty tough. I mean, think that the assets have dropped, the cards have dropped, the SPS has dropped. We've had all these fights, all these negative things, and yeah, we've had positive things, but the people that are left are not, soft. They're not weak, right? The people that are left are strong, and we got a lot of them, right? We got a lot of people listening to your broadcast tonight. We got a lot of people on Twitter. We got a lot of people on, Hive chain, talking about us. People in Discord. We got tough people, small, big, whatever. That they're tough because they believe, right? They believe that it's possible. They wouldn't be here if they didn't believe. They would have been gone with the people that left. And so, you look at it and you say, man, like how cool is that? That we have this situation. And so how do I reconcile it? I mean, it's not really hard. I mean, you wake up every day and you got to be proud of yourself, right? If you're not proud of what you're doing, then you're doing something wrong, right? So as long as you wake up and you say, did I do the right thing? And you look at yourself and you're like, yeah, I did. You're going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to make mistakes. But at the end of the day, it's like, that's how, I mean, I'm old, so I learned this kind of stuff, over time. Like, it's like, when you go into a lawsuit, I don't know how many people know this, but like I've been in, defendants in cases. I've been the plaintiff in cases. I've, had to deal with companies and, you always have like attorneys that, the one thing I always tell you is like, don't say anything, like, take notes, like we got to prep you and all that kind of stuff. And, my whole career, I'm always like, no, I don't really care about doing any of that. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what if you say the wrong thing? I'm like, well, if I say the wrong thing, then if it was the truth, then what, then we're guilty if that's the case. I mean, I don't think we're guilty. So therefore I don't mind telling the truth. And so at the end of the day, that's kind of how I think everything should be, right? It should be like, what's the case? And when it comes to like the community, dealing with the community, I mean, I'm going to tell it like it is, like I could turn around and say like, yeah, we got a lot of new players coming and they're already here and you just haven't seen them yet. Or I could just say like, no, that's something we got to fix. Right. And so at the end of the day, I'm not telling people what they want to hear. I'm telling people what the truth is. And so that's really easy. You don't have to prepare for that. Like when you called me, you didn't have to send me a list of questions that, I had to practice and rehearse and all that. As you can tell, because I ramble quite a bit. So obviously nobody could prepare this amount of words at one
Oh,
time.
this is totally rehearsed, Dave. I can see
Yeah.
you. I can see you reading the teleprompter, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the third song now I've thought of. Rambling Man. Lord, I was
Yes.
born a rambling man. And then earlier, I can't get no satisfaction. Dave can't get no. I forgot the third.
Sing it,
is.
Jimmy. Sing it. Sing it, Jimmy.
No. Yeah, I can go. Yeah, do the Eddie Vedder. Yeah, can't get no. Yeah.
So some
There's
some
that,
of
there's
the
that's that sexy voice again, Jangles. He's doing it again.
Yeah.
I can see the number of views just skyrocketing, Jimmy. Keep it up, man.
Going into the negative numbers at this point, I would think.
Yeah, I'll let you know later what time folks start dropping out of the YouTube replay.
Whatever the timestamp is, 30 seconds ago. That's it.
Oh, thank God we're not broadcasting the video of this. So
You look like the talking heads, man. It's like it's black and there's just Dave's face floating.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome, actually. But dude, I'll tell you one thing I'm psyched about is getting Matt back to where he wants to be in game design.
Yeah, I think he is too. Honestly, I think Matt, I mean, he's loving, like me taking accounting problems, me taking legal problems, me getting in meetings and trying to, have different departments work with each other to come up with solutions. Like, I think he's happy not to have to mess with that anymore. And he's been doing stuff like checking the mobile app and seeing if it's up to speed so we can submit it. And like he's doing the stuff he wants to do now. And as we all know, Matt's got a lot of strengths when it comes to like making cool things. And I think he's now happy about that. He's like passionate about that. I mean, it's only been a week. Maybe he gets tired of me next week. I don't know. But for now, it seems like it's going pretty well.
Well,
I'm sure he's got a little bit of a honeymoon period there. He's got to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Azur Khan lovingly refers to Matt as the game maker. He's the architect, and getting him back into a position where he can build. We've all seen collectively. I think we've commented on it, multiple times on episodes, and I know we've had this in similar comments shared in Team Possible chats that I've been lucky enough to be invited to and be present at. But you can see the joy returning to Matt's face. And when he's talking, there's a certain excitement and level of inspiration that for a long time in 2024, little bit of a retrospective, you don't see that spark. And starting 3, 4, 5 months ago, it started coming back. And I think we're going to continue to see that trend, as Matt has more opportunity to, focus on what he loves to do with this game and what drew him to creating Steam Monsters way back in, was it 2016 at this point? This will be year 8 in May. So 8 years
No,
ago,
started
7
20,
years. 7 years.
2018. Yeah.
2018. Okay.
Yep.
Lucky seven.
Yep.
Yeah,
It is.
stars are aligning, man, and getting Matt back in that position is great.
Yeah, and I would say, think about it like this too. If somebody's happy to do something and they're passionate about it, they're gonna like blow your mind, right? Like
Totally.
he wasn't happy. He did what he had to do because he loved this. He loved the business. He loved the community. He loved the opportunity. But having said that, he wasn't like happy, happy about it. And if you're not happy about something, you're not going to be as productive as you are if like you're just staying awake at night thinking about all these cool things. And that's how I picture Matt now. Like I picture Matt as like probably this weekend, like he's not only doing whatever he's normally be doing, but I'm sure he's thinking, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, because it's actually fun now for him, or at least I think he can see that it will be fun. He like I said, it's only been a week, but that's kind of where I think the benefit will be for us. You know, a happy Matt is going to be like 10 times more productive, you know, than even he's been. And he's been pretty damn productive as it is. So
The
Happy wife,
recipe
happy
for
life.
yeah, recipe for prosperous future here. Totally. Um, Dave, so we were talking about kind of the loop that is marketing and sales and what's going on in creative and how is the community supporting that stuff. Um, how do we kind of continue to tighten that up? I think your side overseeing operations of the company moving forward, a really tight feedback loop for you is critical, right? And you've always done a great job of listening to the community, hearing, what is your issue, and how meaningful is it for us to address this issue. And Jimmy and I believe it was in our conversation last week with Steve, or we were a little bit critical of the team and this new cadence of monthly town halls, kind of feeling like, for all the things that are going on, there's still some sense of we're sitting stagnant, we're sitting stale. Those monthly communication periods can be ramped up a little bit, just increasing the touch points. And I think that all moves to your kind of bigger vision of having that really tight feedback loop. Um, do you kind of foresee things shaking out a little bit differently with the new status quo, and what is that gonna what is that what are you thinking that that's gonna look like from your perspective?
I think that, let me think how to put this. Number one, when you share information with your customers, you have better feedback from the customers, as well as an opportunity to educate them as to, the good stuff, right? So you can hear the bad stuff, you can hear the good stuff, you can hear you can hear it from them, they can hear it from you. Communication is very, very important. I do think that once a month is not enough. I think once a month is great for Matt, right? Like to have like an all hands typical town hall that we have now, I think is perfectly fine, right? So, there's no reason he has to be in, once a week, for instance. But having him once a month, going over big picture, sharing, the different topics that he's going to cover and talk about. I'm going to be on those calls. I'm sure, all the typical guys like Gator and Nate and Manser and those guys. I mean, we'll all be on, and there'll be a big informational type thing. But I want to go to the next level because, number one, it's an opportunity to educate, right? So, for instance, if we have something really, really cool, I mean, let's say we had 10 things that were really, really cool and we show them all to you on one day, maybe you remember the first one, but you forget about the other nine, right? So sometimes it's much better to, you know, dribble that out from a marketing perspective rather than just shoving it in, just because that happens to be the month that you talk about it. So one thing I planning on doing, I haven't talked to anybody on the team yet, but I'm going to do it. So I'm assuming that, people will want to do it, is that in between those monthly town halls, I want to have like a town hall dash marketing, for instance, and have the marketing guy come on and with me, maybe with, maybe with our vendors, maybe with creative, maybe with, I don't really know who else we would bring on, but the point is we want to let people know, like, here's what we're working on, here's what we're doing, here's how we're doing it, you know, uh, you know, basically get the word out. Like, for instance, in the case of the new set that we have coming out, there's some really, really, really cool cards. We might not be able to tell people like today, like, hey, this card is going to be really cool and it's beautiful. Come look at it. But what we can certainly do is let them know that we have like a dynamic that is so interesting that people are going to want to pay attention, and they can talk about that, right? So the marketing can say, why would that be important to do? What is it going to do for the gameplay? What is it going to do for the emotion? And I'll use an example of like the survival mode, right? Like one thing about survival mode, like there's many viewpoints about whether it's good, whether it's bad. The jury's still out on how it's all going to work because it's not even finished with the first season. But having said that, you cannot deny that the mechanic that cards go on cooldown when they lose is a pretty cool mechanic, right? That's something that I think even people that don't like the mode will agree that that part of it's good, right? So, that's something that marketing and sales, which is Blaze, by the way, Blaze is our guy. Blaze is I love Blaze. I think that dude is going to knock it out of the park. He's young, he's smart, he understands what needs to be done. Um, he hasn't always been in a position because he kind of came. I mean, Splinterlands really didn't have any marketing guys until except for like Weirdbeard and Chatter, and in those guys' case, they weren't able to overcome what was necessary to do their jobs right. Like otherwise, they would have succeeded, right? So I wasn't there. I wasn't inside the company. I just know that if you're the head of sales and marketing and you don't have any new players, then you're not doing a very good job. So it may be because you're timid. It may be, because they wouldn't fund you. But any self-respecting sales and marketing head would never tolerate accepting the position and staying in the position where no new people come in. So, you know, since they've been gone, and even like you could even argue, even maybe while they were there because they were never empowered, we really haven't had anybody like Blaze, and now we have Blaze. And like I said, the dude's good, after I spent 10 minutes with him on the phone the very first time, uh, I guess 3 months, 4 months, 5 months ago. I'm not sure exactly how long ago it was, but they hired this guy, and I'm like nervous, like we're hiring this guy, and we don't even have the money. Like we got all these flaws in the system that we need to still fix. Why are we hiring a marketing guy and a sales guy? And then I picked up the phone and I was like, hey, I got some questions for you. And if you've ever been on the other side of my questions, like I am a really nice guy to people when they're people, but when I'm like trying to find out, like, are they going to be good for the role they're in? That's kind of a different role. And you could ask Blaze, like I was like just firing questions at him because I wanted to see, because I got a lot of money in the game, right? I mean, I didn't want to have a bad hire or somebody who's going to, I think mess up our opportunity, right? And I'm telling you, within 5 minutes, I say 5, 10 minutes, I'm not sure exactly the time, but I mean, it was fast. Like, I was like, okay, yep, you answered everything. You get it. You understand. You come from my world. And I immediately got on Discord, and I'm sure it can be searched. And, my message was just got off the phone with Blaze. He's one of us. You guys are going to love him. And that's a fact, man. I'm telling you, you haven't even had a chance to see what Blaze can do yet, because nothing that he's been working on has had a chance to be revealed, right? Like people are like, oh, you hired a marketing guy, and where are all the people, right? Like it just doesn't work that way. That you have to plan. You have to, make sure that if you're going to spend money, it's got to be spent money and get the results that you need. You can't just like say, we hired a marketing guy, go spend the money, and then all of a sudden, if it didn't work, you're saying, well, the guy sucks, right? You can't be like that. You have to say, we're going to give you this amount of money, or essentially, we need you to execute. What do you need to execute? Maybe you have to fix something within the system. Maybe you have to create something. Maybe they got to get with creative and create something. So you get a situation where, you guys haven't seen it. Wait till Conclave Arcana comes. You'll get, like, you won't see much of what I've done, by the time that happens, because obviously I just came in. I mean, I'm not gonna like come in and say like, yep, nope, sorry, everything you guys have done needs to be done this way. Like that's just not how you're supposed to work, right? You come in, you try to understand what's happening, you try to figure out what's good, what's not good, what can be improved, all those kind of things. But Blaze has already been doing that, right? So Blaze is, you will be able to judge him when Conclave Arcana comes out. And I believe you guys are going to be pretty happy with, some of the things he's come up with. I'm not saying he's like magical, and gonna just all of a sudden say, we're gonna have 10,000 people coming through the door joining our game like day one. But I'm telling you, you will see a huge difference in what we're our plan of attack. I think I can give you one of the things. It may not be our official tagline, but it's definitely the tagline that he uses with me. So again, it may not be the official tagline. I don't think we've completely finalized that yet. And there's several things in the works, but this is the truth in just general is the chase is real. That's 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 the message that Blaze, like that's how he thinks, right? Like Conclave Arcana, you're gonna come out of that and you're gonna get an impression like the chase is real. Like when you open a pack, you're gonna be excited, right? You're gonna be looking for something. You're gonna you're gonna have a chance to get something good. So you're gonna want to buy those packs. That's what Blaze is doing, right?
You guys
So
putting Bitcoin in packs? Bitcoin in packs?
no, but we're actually working on something pretty good. So
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, he's mentioned chaser cards before. That was something he came in with hot enough right out of the gates. I thought
yeah, yeah.
that's just so
And
many other
honestly,
projects. Yeah. Yeah.
right. I mean, if you think about it, like, I mean, how important is it for somebody that doesn't know anything about your game to come in and to get that feeling of exhilaration of possibly getting a card that's 500 or 1,000 or $2,000? Like
Oh, it's
that's a,
invaluable, man.
yeah, exactly.
It's invaluable. I
So
want to see a one of one in there too. Like just I was thinking of that one ring thing with the Magic the Gathering, man. A one of one would be incredible in the Splinterlands ecosystem.
yeah, and me too, by the way. Like I said, I just came in, so like what Dave wants isn't, like Dave hasn't had a chance to figure out like what can and can't be done. You can't like all of a sudden say you guys are on this path, you've got all these things done, and then I come in and say, nope, change it completely. Let's make it look like something different. So, like I said, a lot of things I would like to see aren't necessarily going to be happening in this set, but I can tell you the things that Blaze has been working on. I as a person who plays the game and buys the cards, I'm excited, right? Like I'm gonna want to buy packs. I'm gonna want to like see what I get. I'm not gonna like just push the 200, opening thing and just like yeah, whatever. Like skip to the next round. No, I mean I'm gonna be excited to see what's in there when the gameplay comes. Like this is right up my alley, the mechanics, because it's interesting, it's strategic, right? So Blaze understands stuff like this, which is good because he's working with the people on the dev team, on the the art team, on the play design team, and they're coming up with like they're thinking in terms of the way they should be thinking. They're thinking about delivering fun. They're thinking about delivering collectibles. They're thinking about the experience being something that makes people like want to keep doing it, right? And you know it's you're going to see a big difference. I guess that's all I can say. So is that
Nice.
Jangles, is that what you
Nice.
were asking, by the way? Yeah, Jimmy, you're going to be happy because I know you like that thrill of hitting something big, and that's coming.
Well, it's
So
I mean, it's a trading card game, right? Like the concept of again referencing back to our last conversation, Jimmy, Steve, and I, we were kind of contemplating what is it going to look like from the established player base when it comes to buying into Conclave Arcana, and the kind of doing some early speculation that there's going to be a lot of folks that kind of run with the same approach that I employed with Rebellion, where I passed the pre-sale, but I had some loot on the side that I just rolled into the game and picked cards off the market. Uh, but that's not to say I didn't still enjoy the pack opening piece. But I know this is going to strike a chord with Jimmy. I know that's one of his biggest his biggest bugaboos is that the pack opening experience has to be incredible. Like you need to be blown away, and having that potential of pulling, I don't know what you guys have up your sleeves, but knowing you and hearing that this is something that's geared towards folks like you, Dave, is you're a collector. You love collecting stuff. You just referenced your one BCX full collection of alpha cards, and my mind is immediately jumping into that vein. So that in conjunction with the Chase's real tagline, there's got to be some cool stuff that's available to be flipped over and really lighting a fire under the ass of the pack opening experience and pushing folks to want to buy that one more pack. I know, Jimmy, that's a big piece for you, is give me a reason to spend that 4,000 DEC on a daily basis and roll the dice with the fun experience of opening a pack.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, that's the goal, right? Like if we execute, that's the vision, right? We want to make people want to open packs. It's okay. I buy a lot of cards off the market myself. Like I didn't buy that many alpha packs. I bought most of my alpha cards off the market because I'm cheap, right? So I was looking for deals, right? So when I thought something was mispriced, that's how I bought a lot of them. But having said that, I'm going to want to open packs too. I'm still going to want to buy singles off the market, of the things that I want. Like sometimes, like Torch Pfizer, I liked in Rebellion. So, like, I maxed that out the first day by just going to the market and buying what I could because I just thought, like, that's just an incredibly cool card. And I thought it was OP, even though it turned out that, there's other things that may be better. But at the time, that's kind of how, I look at it. And having said that, I mean, I'm definitely going to want to buy packs because you get a situation where I can't say what you're going to get in there, but the chance of getting something big, and by big, I mean more than $50, right? The chance of getting something like, you know, not wealth changing, but, certainly significant, I guess would be probably a better word. Yeah, if you get a card that's $500 or $1,000 or $2,000, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that seems to me to be a pretty cool thing to be able to open up for a $4 pack, and it's not like you don't get other things. So I think it's going to be pretty well, received. Now, I will say this: what was the thing? All things can change. What was the
Subject to change.
Everything's subject to
asterisk,
change.
asterisk.
Yeah, I got to figure that one out because that's actually not in my vocabulary very well. Like most things, if I say them, it's pretty much going to be the case. But having said that, I got to get used to now making sure I subject to change. All things are subject to change. But having said that, I know some things that are going to be in there, and I know other things that they're hoping to get in there, right? And what they've already approved to be in there is going to be awesome. And then, it can only get better from there. So we'll see what makes it in. The team's really working hard, man. I mean, you think of, I've only been there a week, but I can feel it, man. They're working hard. They're under the gun. They're, like I said, I mean, just think about it. They're delivering the next thing of land. That's got to be done. And, the one thing I don't think I appreciated as much when I was on the outside is like all the little things that go in. So for instance, land, right? Cryptomancer makes it. He spends his time, he spends however many months to make it. He's a good developer. Okay, fine, turn it on, right? Like that's kind of the way I thought, right? Like, okay, you made it, now go ahead and turn it on. No, it doesn't work that way. They have to go through and they have to test it. They have to come up with how does this affect other things like the liquidity pools for land. Like is that going to break something? And like there's like a 3-page list of all the things that need to be done that's done by somebody other than Cryptomancer, because they're basically checking his work, right? So let's take Royal, for instance, Royal Eagle. So Royal Eagle will be the guy that has to go through that list and like test all these things to make sure they're paying out right. Like I'll give you an example, the validators, right? The validators today went live. So you're getting SPS and licenses if you got that set up right, right? And so how do we know if that's working right and paying out right? Well, because somebody like Royal Eagle or somebody in Royal Eagle's department, went and checked all the little things they checked to make sure that it did come out right. And like things like that, we don't always see. So my point is, believe me, everything we do from this point forward, as long as I'm here, is going to be in constant elevation of expectations, right? Like we are where we are, right? We've got our skills that are awesome, but we've got flaws that need to be handled. We need to execute, more efficiently, right? And when we do, like whatever we put out this set is going to be even better than next set. Whatever we put out that set is going to be even better than next set. And like there's a ton of stuff on the drawing board. I mean, a ton of stuff. Like I went to creative and I said, look, they were telling me like they've worked on this and it's kind of hard to get it approved because it's new and it takes a lot of work and meaning dev time to recreate it and put it in and make sure it works and all that kind of stuff. And they were like, should we give it to you? And I'm like, of course I want you to give it to me. Like you guys are the ones, you're making the products that we sell, right? Like everything creative is like it's the most important department. Well, actually it's the same as it's tied for the most important department with sales and marketing at this particular juncture. Like our tech department is world class. I mean, nobody doubts that. Our downtime is good. Our accuracy is good. Our mistakes of like you don't like you're getting your SPS when it every day when you hit the stake button you're getting the right amount. The liquidity pools work. All that stuff is great there. So what do we need right now to focus on? We need our sales and marketing, which is Blaze, and we need our creative team, which is Nate and his team. Those two are going to shine because Nate's team provides the IP that people are going to want. Like if they produce something and you say as a customer, I want that, Nate did his job, right? And if the guy says I want that and I'll pay $50 or $1,000 or $10,000, that Nate really did his job, and all those creative guys really did their job. I mean, that's why it's important. We have to like leverage that. And guess what? I mean, just look at the quality of our stuff. I don't think too many people I ever hear say, no, those cards suck. They're ugly. Like you don't hear that, right? So, and then when you go to the lore and how that's put together and all the potential ways in which we can capitalize on that. I mean, like I said, we haven't even started the game yet. We're still definitely in batting practice at best. So, and then when it comes to Blaze, I mean, he can only do so much, right, with what he can sell. Like maybe he wants 10 cards and he can only get one card, so, having said that, like there's limitations because each time you're learning something new and every time you do something new, it's a little harder to do. But once you've done it, now all of a sudden it's a piece of cake, right? So next time you can do what you did before, plus, something more. So that's why I say whatever we do now that's good, it will only get better from there. So remember that when you're in the Conclave Arcana and you're like, whoa, that's awesome. Just imagine the next set's going to be like a double woe or a triple woe. Sorry, Jimmy.
No, I was just laughing at the stumbling over Conclave Arcana. It's a tongue twister, man. Carne asada. Bring it on, man.
I actually don't even like typing it out. I just put CA, easier for me.
Bam. I did think of something while you were talking before about like making packs just like amazing to open, right? We already have one explosion, right? The pack it shakes and there's an explosion. Every time a card flips over, there's another explosion. Come on. Come on.
You mean every time a card, say that again?
Like every time a card flips over, there's another explosion before you see what the card is.
Oh yeah, I was actually thinking about that, and this is definitely not anything that anybody's agreed to except for me in my head, right? But it's something similar to that. Like I'm thinking about like what could we do that would be like super like exciting, right? Like yeah, that little rumbly thing that comes out. I mean, we've had it for a long time. It works, right? Like who doesn't like love to see that little thing start shaking, imagine if you got even something bigger than that, like what could you top it with? And what I'm thinking is, wouldn't it be like awesome if it's like it like all of a sudden music started playing like da 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 da, like all of a sudden music starts coming and you can't click anything, right? It's just like it's there, and Nate would kill me because he's like he would want it to flow smooth and all that. So my description is nowhere near what it would be, right? But this is my head thinking. So, like all of a sudden, like music's going, da, 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 like, whoa, what happened? I just got something, right? And then a voice comes out and says, "Yo, dude, you just hit the big one," or some kind of like thing to let you know.
Dave, I'm totally imagining this experience with your voice cut in there, like a little
Yeah.
cartoon Dave walking out, like flipping the card over. Whoa, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, like yo, dude, man, honestly, you just hit something big. And the reason why I think that would be huge to do it that way, in addition, like the way we do it now is not bad, but I'm saying we should like think of other ways to be a little more creative. And how would that apply? Because like imagine you're a streamer, like I don't know, like you guys, right? And imagine that you're doing a pack opening, and all of a sudden, you're going through and you're opening packs and you get the little shaky thing. Okay, that's cool. You can stop. But imagine if the guy's like, whoa, like hang on there, Jimmy, like brace yourself, or whatever
Keanu
the word
Reeves
would
going,
be. Now all of a sudden you're gonna go get the damn video, you're gonna hit the replay button, you're gonna be telling everybody, hey, I got something huge, and and then all of a sudden, like you hit that and bam, like I said, if it's big enough, I think it becomes a thing. Like we've even talked about, and this is definitely not to be subject to change, but we have talked about like in-game notification across the whole system. Like if you get like one of these like super special hits, that's like really, really cool, across everybody's playing the game, they get a notification that says, Fat Jimmy just pulled, you know, you know,
the
great
ultra
ability.
epic legendary jackpot.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
I'm picturing like the South Park guys
Yeah,
doing
and
like
picture, it
talk
snaps
with
the
more
picture on it.
explosions and heavy things
Yeah,
bang.
right. And then
Jack.
and then your picture comes up and it shows you smiling with a picture of your card. You know, I'm joking,
It turns
but
on your webcam without you knowing
yeah,
it, and all of a
yeah,
sudden there's like
exactly.
shit showing you.
Record your voice. Yeah, yeah. No, but seriously, I mean, yeah, I agree. I think we should be making a big deal. We should be like, I think it would be really cool if let's say there was a very, 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 very limited card, right? I mean, I kind of would love to know when that's going to happen. It's not like there will be that many of them throughout the whole season, right? So if one happens and I'm playing the game and I see, Buckus pulled it, I mean, I'm shooting him a message saying, awesome, great job, Buckus, you know. In
Oh
other
yeah,
words,
man.
it's like a kind of like, like everybody's like a little jealous, that somebody got something huge, and then it kind of like builds that, I want that too, mentality.
And that guy that was about to buy 5 packs to open is like, nope. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. Well, the one good thing is, we understand that dynamic. Like you don't want to like reset the RNG clock after somebody wins. So, I mean, in theory, every pack open could be this super rare, valuable card. It's just like a 1 in, 700 trillion chance that it could be, 5 in a row. But theoretically it could have.
It could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the idea of creating as much of a social community driven experience in game. And I think we've talked about the idea of Matt Clark, shout out to Matt Clark, the idea of like a new mode including a pub brawl or something like that. So all of a sudden you get an in-game notification like, Matt Clark just threw a beer and it hit me, and like let's take sides and battle up sort of thing, or that sort of announcement where it's the 1 in a million card gets flipped over, everybody can like chime in, drop some emojis, maybe it's like Vroo's having a little party or something like that, or just creating those moments where it feels good to be part of the community and have that social interaction in game is ultimately going to lead to more people spending more time in game, which
Yeah.
it's cyclical, right?
Mhm.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
I like that
And
pub brawl idea too.
yeah,
Like, and
I do too.
in the moment. Like right
Yeah,
now, this is happening. Do you want to join in? Right
Yeah.
now. Go.
I love those kind of ideas. Honestly, like I'm not here to criticize, like things that we could have done better, but I look at it as an opportunity because they weren't done. But having said that, I think we need more modes. Honestly, I think we need a lot more modes. And then, of course, it's always going to come back. Well, we don't have enough players. Well, guess what? That happens to be what I'm focused on. So as we get more players, we're going to have more modes. It kind of just goes hand in hand. So,
Yeah, it's
in the
kind of the
beginning,
chicken or the egg, isn't it?
yeah. So I figured out how to solve that chicken or the egg. That's actually like I'm a problem solver by nature. Like I've been hired as consultants and like I've worked in wineries. I'm on a radio station. I've managed brokerage businesses. I've done a lot of different things, but most of the time, the reason they're hiring me is because I try to solve a problem, right? So we're having this issue. How can we fix it? And I'm usually pretty like wired to making that kind of thing happen. But yeah, it's a chicken and the egg, right? So how do you solve that problem? Well, pretty simple. Get new players. We get new players, and we don't have to worry about whether we have enough players for a new modes, right? We get new players, we're going to need new modes. And guess what? When people say, I love arguments, like we get in a lot of these binary arguments where, when I was a kid, you know, I guess we have some older people probably listening, probably not that many, but there was a thing. It was like Miller Lite had a thing, and they had like ex baseball players like Yogi Berra and Billy Martin and people like that, and they one of them would say tastes great, and the other one would say less filling.
Less filling.
Yeah, tastes great, less filling, right? So
Less
you're
filling.
older, like that was like the commercial, right? And it was a very popular commercial back in the day. But that's what I would call binary, right? Like one side says nope, it tastes great, the other side nope, it's less filling, and then they would argue about it, right? But at the end of the day, it probably tasted great and was less filling. It was both, right? And so that's how I look at all these things, right? Like the modes, right? Like people are like, we shouldn't be able to play past bronze with max level cards, and all those things. Like I like the old way. The old way was the way, and then somebody else comes in and says, no, that sucked because I had max level cards and I was stuck in bronze. So the new way is better, right? And that's kind of like less filling tastes great. My point is like what's good about the old way, right? What's good about the new way? And let's figure out how can we find a solution that gives both sides that are arguing this point a solution, right? So that they feel good so they can play the game they want to play, right? There's some people that want to play the game. I mean, just think of people that say things like, you know, this is ridiculous. I can only play 25 matches a day unless I buy energy. And there's other guys that say, oh my God, you're like forcing me to play 25 matches a day. Like people are different, right? What motivates one guy may be the exact opposite to another guy. right? I may care about collecting cards. Like I may want to get like gold foils, for instance, because there's not that many of them. And 10 years from now or 20 years from now when I'm dead, somebody's going to like say, holy cow, let me go through grandpa's, collection, right? And get something cool. So I like collecting. Other guys like Peace Silence, was in the People's Guild too. He was actually invited, Jangles. He didn't just bust in. He was actually invited, but
I invited Jangles the first time. I
all right,
did.
all right. So, but like him,
The
he doesn't
first
care
time,
about
though.
yeah, he doesn't care about gold foils, right? Like he doesn't care. Like it doesn't matter to him at all, right? He's a pure gamer. Like the game is what exhilarates him. And that's awesome. Like that he has his way. It's awesome that like I will have my way or Gold Matters will have his way. And that's kind of what makes our game great is it's not just one way or the other, even though we like to say it, like tastes great, less filling. Nah, in reality, it's both, right? And I would expand that to say not just two things, but there's probably 10, 15 different groups of people that we appeal to, but we don't really market to them. We didn't really create modes for them. Like I want the beer league where, we just hang out and actually drink beer. That would be cool too, right? Like, you know, so anyway, I know back to my rambling. So you guys set me
Oh,
back,
Dave,
put me back.
you've listened to enough episodes to know the ramblings are fully embraced. We'll never cut you off, dude.
Yeah.
We'll talk
All
for
right.
hours. Yeah, I mean, Dave, you and I have had a lot of like private conversations around the binary conversation, right? Like there's a million shades of gray in between, and you're always going to upset somebody, but how do you satisfy the biggest picture and the biggest piece of the pie there? And there's always a way, right? And I think having that philosophy at the top and being able to make strategic business decisions with that focus in mind, obviously with the bigger target of how do we ultimately use this decision to drive new players into the business. Man, we got a winning recipe, man. I was looking in the background. I know Yogi Berra is world famous for his quotes, and I found one in particular that I think is pretty appropriate for all this stuff that we're talking about. Kind of sums up the episode. If you don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere else. And we have a good idea of where we want to go, man. So I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm very excited because you see all those arguments, you see all the people that like I'm telling you one of these days Jimmy and Jedi are going to, get on a call with me and they're going to come out friends. They're going to understand that, their view of each other was, built, not necessarily out of any maliciousness of either one of them, but just circumstances. Like sometimes it's the way it was a day that somebody maybe said something a little different. Like people misinterpret stuff that I say all the time, and if they say like, God, I can't believe you'd say that. I mean, the first thing I would do is like, it wasn't intentional unless it was, but usually I'm not like, I'm direct, right? So I'm not trying to normally hurt people. So, at the end of the day, like it was just unintentional. So all these issues that we talk about, all these things that we have these SPS Dow votes on, and people got bitter, and some people quit over them. They rage quit because like you're never going to get what you want, right? I mean, almost all of them boiled down to somebody thinking that it was only one way to do it, and their way was the right way. And if it didn't happen, they left. And then the guy that you know got his way was happy for a while until the next issue came up that he was unhappy about. And at the end of the day, I try to always look at things from both sides of any argument. And if there's five sides, I'll look at all five sides. Like there's you should always be trying to like find solutions, right? So if and going back to that league issue, right? Like what was good about those leagues? I mean, people felt like they were good in bronze and they built their decks for bronze and they took pride in being in bronze and being good at bronze. And and it gave them a feeling of accomplishment. And they didn't have to spend more than a reasonable amount of money to them, like whatever that was. right? And so that all those things are good, right? And when somebody asks me about them, like, like, which do you support? Like I have to come down and give like the answer, like, nope, I want the old way. Nope, I want the new way. But my answer is no. I mean, that there's valid reasons and all those things that you think that, and yeah, I want to make that happen. I want to make you happy. But the same token, you got the guy that was on the other side saying, "Oh no, if you and by the way, this was my argument at the time. Like, if you got a max deck and you're in bronze and you can't get by those bronze guys, that just means you're a bad player. Like, okay, well, do you want me to leave? Do you want me to not buy cards? Like there's there's repercussions to everything. There's things that happen, right? So the point is, like, yeah, the new way is better for that guy because now he can play his big cards, and if he's not a good player, maybe he doesn't get the Diamond League, maybe he gets stuck in Gold League, or maybe even Silver League. But at least his it's not because of an artificial restraint. So there's a good reason for that. There's a good reason for the way that the guys wanted to have the leagues, and they wanted to have pride and ownership and all that. So you just got to try to understand, like, there's good in one way, there's good in the other way, there's bad things that happen in each way. And then you got to try to say, is there another way that's not the old way, not the new way? Is there another way that can work? And I would say a lot of times the answer is going to be, why don't we just have like different modes, right? Like that do exactly what you guys want, right? And then again, this is how you unravel things. And then of course somebody will say, well, that'd be great, except for we don't have enough players, right? So again, it always comes back to new players. It's going to be the easiest thing in the world to fix all these, like, I mean, I look at it as a good thing in one way, because these people are upset because they're passionate about it. Like, they want to do this, and they're so excited about doing this and playing it that they get mad and want to possibly quit over it. And I said to myself, man, that's like, like when a girl broke up with me when I was a young man, right? It would be the girl breaking up with me. If I was like, oh yeah, no big deal, right? Like, like, did I really care? No. But if I was like really upset and really, like, please no, then obviously that meant I cared, right? It's kind of the same thing. The fact that these people spend the time to argue about them really means that they care. And really our job should be to figure out how can we make them happy, right? How can we make people on both sides of that argument that are all well-meaning, well-intentioned, just people that want to have fun, want to be rewarded, and they're not looking to steal or take advantage of anything. I mean, they legitimately just want to enjoy the experience. The answer should be, we should be trying to solve that. And I would say 95% of the time, the answer is going to lie in, so why don't we create it? And then the answer is going to be, because we don't have enough new players. And soon, that answer is going to be, why don't we create it? The answer is like, that's a good idea, right? We won't have to say, because we don't have any new players. So, I'm telling you, I spent a couple times with some of the people on the team, and these guys are avid, players too, right? Like, they're just as passionate as anybody else. And the bad thing for them is they can't really lash out publicly, right? So they may agree with one thing or another, but they can't come out and really say it, because, that would be like, I agree, they shouldn't say it, because that, could be taken, taken a bad way, like it's endorsed by the team. But having said that, I've listened to some of their ideas of some of the games, and oh my God, some of the stuff on the drawing board in these guys' minds is like unbelievable. Some of these new modes that we could be doing is like, literally, like, we will have, like, I was thinking, like, if we had this episode, like, what would be like a good song for it, or like in this episode, not just in People's Guild, but in this period of time. I think that, like, Baby Come Back is going to be one of those things that, is going to be in people's heads, like you're going to see them coming in, man. And then that song's going to start playing, baby, come back, because I'm telling you, I think a lot of people that have left, not because they didn't love it, not because they didn't see the opportunity, but because they got frustrated and did not feel that anything was going to change for the thing they want. And my point is, we're going to do all that stuff. We're going to, if you wanted something legit and we couldn't get to it, we're going to get to it. Most of the time it was because we didn't have enough new players. So once we get those new players coming in, I mean, all these things should be done. I mean, draft mode, all that stuff we used to talk about there, it's coming. Jimmy, are you getting the guitar out? Are you going to play Baby Come Back?
I've been playing this whole time, Jimmy.
All right.
I noodle. I spend 3 hours practicing while I'm on these things. It's perfect. Multitasking.
That's cool. If you won't be able to see it, but Jimmy's playing the guitar while he's talking. I think that's because I'm boring you. Am I boring you, Jimmy?
No, I started that a couple episodes ago. I'm like, I'm sitting here. I might as well wiggle my fingers, get some do two things at the same time, walking and chewing gum over here.
You're more talented than me. I can't do more than one thing at a time.
I just don't think about what I'm playing. I just let my fingers run things and then pay attention to Splinterlands. But now I want to play Baby Come Back. You can blame it all on me. Yeah.
This is kind of like a concert, Jangles. We got a concert going between me and Jimmy. We got it down.
You gotta do some Tenacious D. Yeah.
Yeah.
Drop some F-bombs in there.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Well, we're coming up on the 2.5 hour mark. Let's kind of wind things down. Jimmy, was there anything else you wanted to ask before I got one more question for Dave teed up here?
No, I think this was a really good I don't think we need to get into specifics about anything at the moment. That was some really good overview about everything and where we're headed and just the concept of everything. Like what he's coming in and what's the plan.
Agreed. Well, Dave, I want to, you talked about folks wanting to come back at a certain point, and I can see that being a particular point of pride, and that would be something us as a community, and I'm using the wider term community, including Steam Monsters in there and Splinterlands and the team. That would be a significant point of pride to see a lot of folks that felt disillusioned, that felt frustrated with the game, that walked away, that sold assets, to see them come back and embrace and re-engage with Splinterlands. And we see, kind of the glory days of streamers and content creators. And, we feel that electric buzz kind of return from, both folks past that have walked away, but also new folks. But I think especially the folks that walked away, getting them back would be a really powerful testament to what it is the team is kind of set on building here in the future. Is there, if you had to sum it all up in kind of one quick answer here, is there one thing that you would say to the folks that have felt disillusioned through the ups and downs of the past few years and ultimately threw in the towel on Splinterlands and said, the project, it's a zombie. It's just a matter of time before it bites the dust.
All right, Jangles, you just asked me to give one quick answer.
I realize this as soon as those words escape my mouth. I wonder how Dave's gonna juggle this one. Let's see.
Yeah, my God, I don't even think that's possible.
Start the clock. Let's go.
It's a relative term, Dave. Relative term, dude.
All right. Yeah, that's true. It will be less than the last rant, but I would say this. Number one, we've had a lot of great people that have left. Yuwa Lang, for instance, was on the post, talked about, he's gone, but he's super happy to see me there and, believes I'll do a good job. And, what that really means is, number one, he's paying attention. And number two, he does know that, the value of, like people are, it's like people are still passionate about the project. They didn't, and I'm not talking about the guys that came and left in a month or a week or whatever. I'm talking about the guys that were OG type guys or been there 2 years or 3 years, a long time, right? And when they leave, like a little bit of piece of me, leaves because I like people, right? I like a lot of these people that I've talked to. Like one guy in our guild, I talked to him the other day and I sent him a message and said, "Hey, make sure you pay attention," because I know he was frustrated. I know he didn't think anything was ever going to change. And I've been, I mean, this has been a few month process, to be in this position. Like there was interviews and things like that. But, like I couldn't say anything. And he's like yelling and complaining and, things aren't going to be better. But he's a good guy. And, a lot of the things that he was upset about were legit, right? Like, it wasn't like, that there wasn't things that people could complain about. But having said that, I think most of them would love to be back in if they were confident, right? Like again, you can see the opportunity, you can see the potential, you can hope, right? Like those are things that are all important. But if you don't have confidence, right? Like sometimes you're going to hold back. And I think that's kind of where that group is. And there's a lot of good ones. There's a lot of people with a lot of money. I'm telling you, there's a lot of just good, solid people like John Doerr, for instance. I mean, he's never a whale, but he comes and goes. He doesn't really sell his assets. He just maybe leaves for 6 months or a year because he gets upset, right? And then he'll check in, a year later and how's things going. And I want him to come back and check in and start playing him that song, baby come back, because all the things that you were worried about are now fixed, right? And that's not going to happen in a month or two, but the progression. People are going to start to see it, right? And when they see it, then they will come back. So I guess if I had to say anything, I would say first, thank you very much for the fact that you were there, right? The fact that you gave it your trust, you gave it your money, you paid attention, you cared, right? Like thank you for that. Even if you're gone, I still say thank you, right? A lot, there's a lot of guys out there that we should thank, right? Like we shouldn't say, they left, they didn't matter. No, there's a lot of great guys, girls, ladies, men, women. I want to be culturally, appropriate. There's a lot of great people out there that we've let slip away. Is how I look at it. And so, if I had a magic wand and say, not necessarily what could I say, but what could I do with that magic wand, I would say nothing more. Like I wouldn't say, come put your money back in and guarantee you're going to be happy or I'm not. That's just not my style. What I would say though is open your eyes, keep an eye on what we're doing. If you see an opportunity to jump back in whatever capacity you feel comfortable, you're welcome. Like we want you, right? We want to see you benefit with us. In other words, if I think that I'm going to make whatever 10x my money or 100x my money, don't I want my friends to also do the same? Like, don't I want Jimmy, my friend, or is Django sort of my friend? Don't I want you guys? Right?
What a
like,
dick.
Right. So, I'll just say Jimmy. Yes. Like I want to see him make money too, right? Like I don't want to manage his money. Obviously, we're in a Web3 trading card game in an industry that, if you look at everybody's chart, they're down like 80 to 90% in the last year. So it's not like it's a guaranteed thing, right? But I think it's important to keep your eyes open, always check it out, see if things change, see if you see these new people that I was talking about this whole show start to show up, see if you start seeing fun come back in the dynamic, see if you start seeing like, wow type things in packs, right? And if all this stuff starts happening, then just kind of like think, right? Like, like maybe it's not a bad time for me to like dip my toe in the water and see what's going on. And the reason why I would do that is not necessarily because I think we need them. I mean, I don't believe that, like, I believe in free will. So if people want to be gone, that's okay. If people want to be here, that's okay. At the end of the day, like, I'm not, I come from you know, the market side of things. And the one thing I've learned is you can't make it be whatever, like you want it. Unless you got more money than I've ever had. Right. So if you're like normal people, like I am, then, all you got to do is you have to understand, like, all right, well, I think this is a pretty decent opportunity. And like I said, I'll put, toe in the water and I'll see what happens. And yeah, hey, it was fun. And you know what? I kind of know how Splinterlands is. I mean, I would think that if we sent around a questionnaire to everybody, currently, and let's say in the last 5 years, and you sent a questionnaire and said, hey, if they're getting 10,000 new players average, monthly average users, if they're getting 10,000 a month, do you think their token would be good? Do you think their cards would be good? Do you think their land would be good? I can't imagine very many people saying, no, I really don't think that would be good. Like, everybody would know what impact that would have. I mean, it's pretty much common sense, and, the beautiful thing about the flywheel is it's supposed to work on the way up. And like, there's another misconception. See, I told you, not a simple answer, but on the flywheel, like, it's supposed to work like more money comes in than goes out. And that essentially is channeled into SPS going up. And ever since we had the flywheel, SPS has basically been working down, right? Why? Because we have more money going out than coming in, right? So it's been a gradual slide down. Same with the asset prices, right? It all flips. It all goes the other way. And those dynamics that have been there and have, like, made us, like, slide down is the exact same dynamic that the minute that's reversed and we now have net new players on a substantial basis putting money and having fun and getting collectibles that they really, really want, now all of a sudden it goes from, you know, sliding down to rocketing up, like that little rocket ship, thing. I think, Jimmy, you do that a lot, right? You put
Yeah.
the little rocket ship. Yep. That's
Yep.
a perfect image for that, because you're gonna go down slow, you're gonna bleed until again it comes back to confidence. Once people have confidence, it's gonna happen. I mean, all these guys, like Twinner, like, I mean, Twinner's a great guy, man. I mean, that guy, we banned him from Discord, or I don't know if we banned him from all the Discord, but I know we banned him from math chats at one time. I mean, that guy was an amazing guy. He used to give out cards to people. He was always engaging, and pretty much carried Legendary Dragons for a long time. And you know, I don't know if he's still here or not. I haven't really checked lately, but I know I don't ever hear from him. So, that's the kind of guy that I think he's probably just hanging out, and if he hears, like, hey, did you know Splinterlands is getting whatever 10,000 new players a month? I mean, he'll be back in a heartbeat because he knows. So there you go. There's your quick answer, Jangles. Yeah.
No, man, I think you hit the nail on the head there, dude. It all comes down to instilling the confidence, right? Like, you're pushing the buttons, you're turning the levers, you're or turning the knobs and pulling the right levers. All of these things are ultimately going to creep into the perception that things are turning around. And any one of those, independent of the others, can start to instill that confidence. It could just be that Peak Deep post that announces Dave, sees the engagement, sees the overwhelming support, sees you engaging in all of these comments, and offering opinions and thoughts, and fielding questions right there. Each one of these things is going to impact another, outsider or previously existing Splinterlands player, a little bit differently. And ultimately, as soon as you see this big picture stuff working in as a result of all of these independent pieces in conjunction with one another, that confidence is going to come. And that's the first piece of the flywheel, right?
Yep.
Is instilling that confidence. So yeah, well done. Just giving you shit, Dave. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna give you a little more shit. Nobody listens to our show anyways, according to Dave
That's true.
McCoy on his very first episode. So
That's
we're
why I
just
don't have to
talking to
worry
each
about
other here.
rambling. Yeah, I don't even have to worry about rambling because I know nobody's listening, so it doesn't really matter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
All
I'm
right.
just kidding.
Well, I know
Eh,
you were.
Jangles, always awesome. You know, honestly, you guys do the best show, and I it's my personal favorite because I like the long show because like when I go for a walk, it keeps me literally like, if I need to walk for 3 miles, I just put on a People's Guild, set out, and 3 miles goes by in no time. Listening to you guys, you got great stuff, great people, great personalities. You know, I can't say enough about how awesome that is. And one of these days, by the way, just so you guys know, as influencers, you two are influencers. Bulldog, you guys, After Sound, Tails. I mean, I don't even want to start naming names. I mean, there's a lot of them. Gank. Um, I want to also turn to that as well and figure out how we can leverage you guys in a way that's good for you, good for your audience, and also good, for get the word out because you guys do a great job. You're every bit as important as the guys that are making the cool tools that let us surf land or buy cards or all the different stuff. I mean, everybody's like kind of that's actually, if you step back and you think about it, like look at all these things that people do and they don't even get paid. Like they do it because they love it, right? They do it because not for money, but they do it to be a part of it. I mean, that should tell you right there, like what the underlying strength of our system is. And, you know, like I said, I'm very happy, because like I said, it's I feel like I have a chance to actually make a difference, right? And like I said, there's a lot of people, a lot of friends, you know, and you want to see them succeed, right? And in some cases, I mean, we have all kinds of people. We have people that put probably way too much money in than they should. We have people that care about being here because like we're their friend network, right? You probably say that about me. Actually, if you think about it, like I don't really go out of my house that much, to just go to the store. I mean, I spend a lot of time talking to you guys, right? So you could say like, you know, how cool is that? Like that for 7 years, I hang out with Jangles and Jimmy. That's pretty cool. Hopefully 7 more.
Here's 7 more, man. I completely agree. This community fucking rocks. We're gonna book in this episode with a couple of f bombs. For you guys out there wondering, there's number two.
There you go.
This
Yeah.
yeah, this
Yeah,
community is so cool, man.
motherfucker.
Oh yeah. Uh, I mean, it's really amazing what we built here. I'm so excited, Dave. Again, a huge congratulations to you, and I think we have to extend that congratulations to the team. You guys made an awesome hire. I think the philosophy, the culture, the influence, the experience, all of this stuff is Dave. You kind of I've always looked at you as one who embodies and fully walks the walk in terms of servant leadership. You're empathetic, you listen, you're solutions driven, you're a problem solver. And that's inspiring to folks. And us as mere peasants in the community, we're no different. It's inspirational to us. Um, so yeah, happy to have you at the new post there of COO, and Here's to a really bright future, man. I appreciate all the hard work that you put in to get here, and like you said, man, here's to 7 more. Let's go.
Yep. Cheers, man. Both of you guys, and everybody in the community as well.
Hell yeah. All right, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Hopefully first of many with Dave as COO, as playing a regular guest here. We're gonna try and run laps around AzurCon's episode count. I know there's a little personal competition there, so Dave,
Yeah.
always welcome back, man.
By the way, Azircon is out of town. He's been goofing off on vacations and stuff. So, make sure you let him know that, the only reason I passed him is because you can't get him on the phone. So,
but we do take bribes for a spot on the show, just so you know, letting them know. And we do accept Hive, SPF, DEC.
Invoice coming later. Yeah. All right, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week. And in the meantime, you have been listening to
The People's Guild.